Hi there, welcome back. Here's another video that I made regarding the bounce feature of the Boss RC600. This one is a little more involved, there are more tracks involved, and there's more happening. But the concepts are the same. It tells you how to use the bounce feature. I'm using it to create a mixdown of a complete song, and I found it was very useful for that. Anyway, this isn't how most people would use it. I suppose if you're live looping, you could find a way to use it in your performance on a song or a track. But how do you use it? This video will show you how to use it. Your application is likely going to be different. Maybe you'll be doing the same kind of things. Anyway, let's just get started. And here's another example of how to use the bounce feature of the Boss RC600. Hit like and subscribe if you get anything from the video, if you want to see some more, or if you have any suggestions or comments, please just leave them below and I will promise to read them. We are back at the RC600. I am in memory number 4. I'm calling it Bounce 02 because we are going to bounce a few tracks over to an unused empty track. Let's have a look at the tracks that we're going to use. I have 4 tracks. Track 1 is, I was noodling on a guitar and singing and I was plugged in. I hit the record button and I recorded a full song, about 3 minutes or so. So they're together on track 1. I used a few input effects on my voice because otherwise I would sound horrible. Some delay and some dynamics. And I had some dynamics on my guitar as well, on bank A of the input effects. Then I came back and I added a bass on track 2. And I thought something is still missing. So on track 3, I added some shaker. And that kind of polished it up a little bit. Pretty happy overall with the results. So now I've got tracks 1, 2, and 3. Track 4. Well, that's completely unrelated to this song. I was noodling away with an electric guitar and I was having fun and I thought, hey, that sounds kind of cool. So I recorded a blurb. It's there, but it's not part of this song. It's not part of the bounce down. So I'm going to exclude track 4 and I'm going to mix tracks 1, 2, and 3 onto track 5, which is empty. 6 is also empty. So how do I do that? Well, everything you need to do is in the loop menu. Hit loop, and we're going to go into record. Scroll to the right, one screen. So here, these are the 6 tracks, and tracks 1, 2, and 3 are going to stay on because I'm going to use those. Track 4 is unrelated to this song, so I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to shut off the empty 5 and 6 tracks, and bounce switch needs to be on. That activates this function in the first place. Now I have to find a destination, assign a destination. Here, track. Of course, going back a bit, you can pick any of these tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I'm going to use 5. It's one of the free tracks. There's nothing on it yet. So let's go in there and I'm going to scroll to the right. 1, 2, 3. And now I see bounce in. That is the destination. Track number 5, bounce in, on. Now I'm ready to go. So how do I use all of this? Well, I've excluded track 4 here. So track 4 isn't going to record. So let's hit all start. It doesn't matter if this track starts. I'm going to shut it off after we get going. So I'm going to hit all start to turn everything on, and I'm going to hit record on track 5 immediately afterwards. So let's do that and get it going. And we should hear everything start. There we go. Now I'm going to go over to track 4 and shut it off because it's not part of this anyway. Track 4 off. So track 1, 2, and 3 are playing. Track 5 is recording. going to turn the volume down a little bit so that I can talk. Now, I have, as I said, some track effects on track 2. And what I have is dynamics, EQ, and sustain as a track effect on track 2. Because it makes the bass sound punchier, I found some settings that made it come through the mix nicer, it's brighter, and a lot more even playing. There are no track effects on track 1 or on track 3, just on track 2. But there are input effects embedded in track 1 when I originally recorded that track. All of those effects are going to end up on the new track. So they're all going to be embedded on track 5 in the end. And again, track 4 is being excluded. And in a little while, this song will be finished, and I'm going to have to hit the stop button at the end before the tracks begin to cycle and start again. After all, it is a looper, and it's going to continue playing. So there's no way I can go fast forward. There's no way I can speed it up. There's no way to do it other than in real time. You just have to let it all play through. Most people are probably just going to be recording a few measures when they bounce. They're going to have maybe a track that's 2 measures, a track that's 8 measures, maybe a track that's 1 measure. And they're going to combine that all into an 8-measure length that can be cycled throughout the rest of the song, which is really cool. Here we go. It's coming to the end, and I'm going to turn it up a little bit so I can hear it. And I'm going to shut it off so that the recording stops just before the loops start again. There. Now at the end, I actually realized that my current track was still on 4, so I had to quick move over to 5 to shut that off. So there we go. And I'm going to stop everything, and I'm going to play just track 5. It should be an identical copy of the 3 tracks that we're playing. And it sounds to me here in my studio exactly the same. And yes, it's a Tom Petty song. Tom Petty. Hard on Me. It's a great song off of Wildflowers. One of his best. Anyway, hopefully that sheds a bit of light on how to use all of this. Now there is one more step that I have to mention. If I change my memory to any other memory, or if I shut everything down, or something happens, I might lose this track. So before you do anything, let's stop it all. Everyone should know by now that whenever you do anything like this, you need to write in order to keep that mix down, that bounce. So write to memory 2, here it is executing. Now I'm going to have a permanent copy of it until I delete it intentionally. It's not going to be deleted accidentally, at least. So now I can take the RC, plug it into the computer, transfer all 3 of these and that unrelated thing to use for some other project somewhere, and I've got this mix down. So if I wanted to go to a DAW and do a much better project with these 3 tracks, I can. If I wanted to use that somewhere, I can. They're all WAV files, and you can install them into any DAW and continue your session. This track, call it a mixdown. I can just convert it quickly to an MP3 in the computer, put it on my MP3 player, put it in my phone, whatever. I can take it, play it in the car, on the car stereo. I can upload it, put it on Spotify or whatever I want if it's good enough, and it is ready to go. Well, I hope that clarifies how to use bounce. It's such a cool feature. Not many other loopers can do it, if any, I don't know. But this one can, and it's useful for all sorts of things.
So there's another example of how to use the bounce function. It works very well if you're using it that way. It's a mixdown tool. You can perform complete songs on separate tracks in your loop station and have them all play back together. You got full control of the effects, volumes, the levels, panning, and all of that sort of thing. It actually is pretty versatile. And then you can mix it all down into a single track right on the loop station. It's pretty fun to do that. And you're learning while you do it. Anyway, there's other ways that you could also use the bounce function, probably what you'll be doing if you're live looping and doing a show. In your song, let's say you've got percussion on track 1, you've got some snare or some cymbals on track 2, you've got a bass line on track 4, maybe some shaker on track 3, all sorts of possible scenarios. They're all looping with different lengths, maybe a 6-bar loop, maybe a 3-bar loop, maybe even a 12-bar loop as well. All kinds of possible scenarios. They typically work best in multiples of each other. Anyway, they're all looping together, and you're doing your song. Maybe it's a 6-minute song, and it would be nice at the end of that song if you could do a fade out, but you can't because it's looping and it has to work the way that it's been predetermined. If you were to have it all set up to bounce onto an unused track, sometime through that performance you could activate that, and all of those tracks that you chose would go over to the unused track. It could be set to play at the end of the recording or not play at the end of the recording, and that bounced track can also be set to fade out. And that's what a lot of people have been trying to find out how to do. It's a very versatile way to use the bounce function, and I think that's what they intended for us to be able to do a fade out. You bounce everything over to a new track and activate that track when you want the fade to start and turn off the rest of the loops. It should sound pretty much identical to the separate loops playing because of the levels that you've preset. So now it's become possible to change everything over to that fade out track at the end of the song, and I believe the maximum is 64 measures. Anything up to 64 measures as a fade out. You can fade out at 8 measures or 20 measures or whatever you like, as slowly or as quickly as you wish. Anyway, I think that is the intended use of the bounce function, to be able to do the fade outs. So give that a whirl sometime, and if you've gotten anything useful out of this video, I would love to hear back from you. Please hit like and subscribe. Lets me know that somebody out there appreciates my efforts, and I can continue making more videos if people are appreciating it. So have yourself a great day, and I'll talk to you again in a future video. Bye now.